What's up, everybody? Welcome into another film review episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Casey Kinnaman. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. I got the classic Brownie the Elf, some Ohio State love going on from Casey. We are very excited for this episode. If you are checking us out on Twitch, please hit that follow button. Maybe if you've got Amazon Prime, sub to the channel for free, help us out. If not, if you're on YouTube, please absolutely make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us that thumbs up, helps us out a ton. Casey, how you doing this fine Sunday morning?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I got out early in nature, and got some miles under my belt before we got to record. I think it really clears my head just to get out and just be with my thoughts. We don't do that enough in society, We're always tethered to technology and other external things. So, feel pretty good, man. Feel pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, just got to get the yard work done today. So I'm not exactly, I know you're going to as well. So that's not always my favorite thing to do, but got a cookout today and a cookout tomorrow for Memorial Day. So on the move to the various locations and going to eat far too much food. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So, so some updates. We hit our sub goal. We hit 250 subs on YouTube as we kind of rebuild this thing. And so that means a giveaway is coming. The giveaway will drop probably Monday or Tuesday. Look for it in the shorts, or it might be a regular video on YouTube. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to the youtube.com/the Browns. So you can check that out as we'll do a big giveaway over there. Not really anything else. Are we missing anything news wise? Don't think so.
No, nothing that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, nothing really good. So let's jump right on into it. Next up on our review series is 6th round pick Nathaniel Watson, the linebacker out of Mississippi State. Very interesting pick for Cleveland just because of the guardrails. And I know they bend to them, but you're looking at a guy in Nathaniel Watson who will be 24. He's nearly 24 right now.
Yeah.
Played 6 years of college football.
Yeah.
That's, what's funny when you talk about somebody that plays football that long is you're trying to figure out, is it because he wanted to stay there? Is it because he wasn't good enough to go to the next level? Like, I feel like there's a lot of times some questions about that. But in the end, he's a 6th round pick. So
yeah,
those questions are whatever you want to say about him. First 2 years at Mississippi State, didn't see a ton of the field, only played in 3 games. And then the final 4 years, he played in 10, 12, 13, and 12 games. Totaled 377 tackles. Most of that came the last 3 years, only 39 tackles hit in 2020 in that COVID year. What am I trying to, where's this? 6'2", 240, decent, good size, good length, has the measurables that you want to have. And the things that stick out for me, man, and I know you're going to say it too, he led the SEC in tackles and sacks last year. As an off-ball linebacker, it's not a surprise to lead a conference in tackles, but it's a pretty big surprise to lead the SEC, where we know there were some prolific, Dallas Turner for one, there were some really good, really talented pass rushers in the SEC, and he still was the leading sacker in the SEC. He had 10 sacks, a total of 137 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, an interception, and 2 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. So I'll kick it over to you, man. Initial things on Nathaniel Watson.
You covered it pretty much. He's an older prospect. And when I say older, I mean he's 4 days older than Alex Wright.
Yeah.
He's going into his 3rd NFL season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's that. Like you said, they've been guardrails. They don't have to adhere to everything. When you get to, you're talking about the 206th overall pick. That's not that big of a deal when you get that far down. I kind of split his college up into 3 years. His first 2 years were a nothing burger. Got a little play his sophomore season because he redshirted.
Yeah.
But his last 3 years, you looked at it, he had 119 solo tackles, 214 assisted, 21 sacks over those 3 years, and 31 tackles for loss. Nose for the ball. I think he's a good downhill player. Now, I think that you look at the size. I think that sticks out. Prototypical Sam and at the next level. Now, I kind of go back a little bit to the introductory press conference when Andrew Berry kind of alluded to they see him as a Sam, but a potential green dot in the future. After going on a deeper dive, I'm not sure I'm willing to go that route. I don't know if I see that with him. I think downhill, he's great, got great physicality, and he's a solid tackler when the ball's in his lane. Not someone who's going to wow you in pursuit. And we always got caught up in these buzzwords. We think back to Phillips and then with JOK, sideline to sideline range. I do not see that in Nathaniel Bookie Watson. Also, let's talk about his nickname. With all the betting scandals that are going down, I don't know if Bookie is the name that we want to be going with. I think that's going to sound a little weird to people.
I thought it was Boogie at first. The
too.
First time, and then I was like, "Oh, it's Bookie!" Like, oh, that's
yeah.
I hope someone asks him, like at training camp or whenever they get an opportunity.
And it's going to be some, maybe he was a reader as a kid. I don't know. We'll all find out together. But yeah, it's that's
it'll end up being something where you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. It's like it's been there. Yeah. So for me, I'm with you 100%. I think he's an okay athlete. I think that's where he is. He's an okay athlete. He's fine. He's not like hindered by a lack of athleticism, but he can't take it to another level because he doesn't have that elite level athleticism. I think he'll be pretty good on special teams, like where it's very. I have questions about his ability to read and react quickly, and that's where you get into trouble as a Mike linebacker specifically, if you're talking about him potentially getting the green dot, which, listen, I think Jason Tarver is a great position coach. So if there's somebody that could potentially get that out of him, if it's there, then maybe. But you're looking at a guy that's already almost 24 years old. He's played 6 years of college football. I know, like you said, the first 2-3 years, he didn't really play a ton. But you start to have questions about how high is the ceiling of a guy like that, because or how close are you to that ceiling? I think everybody can always continue to get better. So I'm not going to say that that's impossible for him, but I think he's close to the ceiling of what his athletic ability is. So the biggest question is, can he get his ability to read and react? And I know the react has a lot to do with the physical stuff, but reading, if you can read things quickly, even if you're not a top tier freak athlete, but you see something right away, that's fine. You can work with that. You can manage that. So the question is, can it get him there? When he gets blocked, he struggles to get off of it if they get their hands on him. Though I think he does a good job, like a la JOK. I know they do it different ways, but like JOK does a great job of avoiding getting blocked. I think Watson can do that when he's playing downhill in the run. And I'm with you on the tackling. That's really what sticks out. He had last year, where do I have it? I had it written down. He had a 5.4 missed tackle rate, had over 100 tackles. Okay. I need that. Yeah. He's a guy that comes out there and can get it done in the open field. His average depth of run tackle was under 5 yards per play, which I think is a big deal. I just think that in the NFL, he's a situational pass rusher. And a special teamer as his, he can take defensive snaps that aren't pass rushing snaps, but I think he's okay in coverage. But once you get him out there with some really elite level athletes, he just doesn't have that athleticism. But I do think there's a role in 2024 that he can play and play pretty well. It's just like, where does that role max out?
Yeah, very similar to Michael Hall in that regard as far as 24 is concerned. Yeah, there should be a role for these guys as rookies. And, one's a higher draft pick. So to get someone at 206 that you think can slot in and play run downs, obvious passing downs. And when you look at his sacks that he had like 21 over his last 10 last year. Most of those are blitz situations or delayed blitz situations. And like to your point of if you block him up, and there were several times they sent him and he wasn't able to get home. I watched a ton of tape of him kind of getting stonewalled. But He does a good job at getting skinny, which we talk about for running backs, getting through a hole, but it's important for linebackers too. Getting skinny, taking away your strike zone, but maintaining good balance in your waist so that once you breach the line of scrimmage, you can find your target. And he's really good at the point of impact. Like a lot of guys, when they get to that zone where you breach the line of scrimmage, target's in your sight, quarterback sees you and can make a move, he usually has them dead to rights. Not many guys get out of that. So, and that's to come down also to being a sure tackler, bringing your hips with you. I do have some concern in the run game, things he was able to get away with in college. He's a high tackler. He doesn't really get low, doesn't drop his hips so much because he's such a big guy and so strong. He's able to brute these guys to the ground. At the next level, that becomes more difficult. So that's something that can be worked on, though. That's something set in stone, regardless of age. Man, you can coach that up, just because he will be in the right place. I think that's half the battle. Just being able to read things and to get in position to make the play. So he has tons of experience too. That's the other thing we talk. 6 years of college, like he's Van Wilder, but like this dude's seen a ton of football at the SEC. I think that's invaluable. That'll serve him well as a rookie. I know that he won't be swimming like some of these guys will. Someone like Thrash, who played at a lower level college, got 1 year at Louisville, and then come to pros. That's one big step after another big step. For Bookie, it'll be a little less daunting, I think, in that respect.
Yeah, that's a great point. Excuse me, that's a great point, because you do like to look at these guys and talk about production and experience, and like when you're checking those two boxes with Watson, it's where they want him to be. You've got a guy, and like you said, it being in the SEC matters. Like that matters. Like you have seen a lot of SEC football, which means you have played against a lot of NFL caliber players. NFL caliber players from Alabama and other schools that you're going to face that are on your team right now. You know what I mean? It's like you've seen these guys, how this works. And so I think that is probably the thing that I like. I like the tackling, number one. That's probably the thing that I like second, is just been there, done that, seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been there, done that, I've seen it. I know what I'm facing. So you kind of understand how to attack, how to get skinny, because you struggle to shed the blocks. Like, I mean, that's a thing we've seen JOK do that stuff too. And it's like, he's a much better athlete. He's at the top.
He's a much butcher athlete. Yeah. He's also a lot smaller.
Right. And although I think he's limited, I just think it's invaluable to have people that can do certain things well. You can never be upset that you brought in another player that, even if it's because you're taking him in the 6th round, right? Like you're not taking him at the spot that you've taken Michael Hall or any of those things. You're taking him in the 6th round. And that's the perfect time to get these niche players. Like, hey, he can play downhill and run downs, see ball, hit ball. He does that really well. Yep. See ball, hit ball, boom. If you've got him against a possession tight end, not like a Travis Kelce or something like that, like for whatever reason, Darren Fells is the guy that comes to my mind immediately.
Freiermuth would be another one that I think kind of fits.
He's got the athletic ability, the football IQ to cover those sorts of tight ends. You don't want him out there against a Travis Kelce, a Mark Andrews, those guys that are the elite guys, but guys that are possession, big, strong. He's big, he's strong, he's got great length. He can really contest catches at the catch point when he gets those opportunities, as long as he's not running all over the field after some of these guys. But hey, goal line, I like him in the goal line. Because it's pretty easy. When you're on the goal line, don't put him on one of the coverage. Put him in the middle. Let him go run at the hole. You think the running back's going to go. Put him on special teams, because I think he's good in the open field. And when you give him a very centric, hey, go, that guy's going to get the ball. Go hit him. I think he can do that.
Yep. I think your lane. Go get it.
Yep. I think he can do that in spades. And then you're like, oh man, we need to take Zadarius Smith off for this 4th down rush. and we've already got Ogbo out there. We'll just throw this guy off the edge. Yeah, he can do those things. So 6th round, I still think it's a good pick, but I'm not sure he ever becomes much more than a very specific role player. But there's value in that, I think.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. You pick the guy 206th overall. If he serves a meaningful role in your team, that's a great pick. You know what I mean? When you get to that point in the draft, and he brings something different that the room didn't have. That room doesn't have a thumper. You know what I mean? And so you go get a guy 6'2", 245, decent athlete. And the things that I think that he's deficient in, I think you can work on. Pursuit angles you can work on.
Yeah.
You know, judging speed. I go back to the game against LSU. I was watching him play, and dude, those are fast players in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They just happened to be in college when you saw him, and some of his pursuit angles, you know, you could see where you need to take a different approach. But you can also, we didn't speak on this, the fact that he already has a conduit on the team, that he has Martin Emerson there, who's walked through this journey from Mississippi State to ingratiating himself to the locker room, to proving himself on the field, and now he's a dude. Emerson's a dude in my mind. I believe he's a roster cornerstone, you know. So to have that as your guide, your Sherpa, you know, and then just based on how many years he played, he was there for the entirety of Emerson's run in Mississippi.
That's what I was going to ask. Is he older than Emerson?
Well, his senior year should have been 21.
Okay.
So, you know, if he got there in 18. So, I just think that I'm going to lower my expectations. I got pretty pumped when I heard Barry speak about green dots and such. Like, oh, what am I missing? You know, and I'm gonna pump the brakes on that. I'm gonna dial that back. I agree with you. I think that this is a role specific type guy now. Maybe he can grow into that and prove me wrong. That'd be amazing. But given that you have JOK that is such a versatile athlete who can move all over the field, to get another guy to be that talkie type guy, I think that's huge. You got him on a rookie contract. You're not going to play a ton of 3 linebackers, but when you do, I would expect to see him from time to time, especially even early. You know, you don't play Baltimore, I don't think, until like week 7, week 8. It's that home game stand after you leave Philly. You play Cincy, Baltimore, and then the Chargers. That'll probably be the first time you notice him, because you're going to need to see
against Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That's probably feels fairly accurate. Placing it like that. Don't forget too about the value of having a guy like Jordan Hicks in that linebacker room. We've said it for years about Anthony Walker in terms of leadership and experience, and I think Hicks has that. And I think Hicks is a better player. Like I'm not sure if he's all the way on Anthony Walker's like leadership level. We'll find some of that stuff out once we get to camp and once we get to training camp. We've got another week of OTAs coming up and this week as well. So we'll probably start getting to talk to some even more different players. That's my favorite thing. Like, I know you can't get side tangent. I want to say this side tangent because I'm thinking about it.
Floor is yours.
When coaches and GMs talk this time of year, and I'm not talking about the players, I just want to talk about that. We'll get to the players in a second, but you can't take shit outside of injury stuff. Like if somebody's like, hey, this like Dustin Hopkins for one, they said the other day, 100%. Hopkins is 100%. Like sometimes a lot of the injury stuff they say is vague, but like right there, okay, boom, have no questions. Your kicker's good. He'll be here next year. Don't worry about it. Okay, got check, boom. Moving on. Yeah, got that. But I love listening to the players because I feel like this time of year they're authentic. I don't think they will come the season because I think they're really coached up on what they are allowed and not allowed to say. Yeah. Because it kind of matters at that point because you're actually playing football. But like I enjoy like Zadarius Smith. If you haven't watched Zadarius Smith's availability from OTAs, I'd go back and watch it. Like that dude, you can tell that he's got like an infectious, bubbly personality. Like it just, and he said something this past week that I really kind of cling on to, and that was talking about, how did he say it? he really pretty much he talked about the team's chemistry and togetherness as a big reason he came back to Cleveland. Like, when has anybody worth a damn? I'm not talking about like paying somebody way too much money and getting, Dwayne Bowe here. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, when is a dude that's legitimate? I mean, like, the Dolphins tried to give him money. The Dolphins tried to give him money, and he chose Cleveland. When the hell have you ever heard that? And when's the last time you've heard that? Like, from a guy that matters.
From a guy that matters and who's been at other solid organizations. He was drafted by Baltimore, went to Green Bay, spent time in Minnesota, and now he's here. He has a good feel for the league, for
He's won a lot.
What it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? So for him to see that in Cleveland, I think that's a great sign. And that dude's electric, man. He just loves coming to work, which will bleed off to the guys in his position group. You know what I mean? Because you're spending time with that guy and he's into it. He didn't have to be at OTAs. You know what I mean? Like,
Miles isn't there.
Yeah. And I suspect Miles will show up next week, because we're in that little sweet spot now between the first session, second session, then there's a third session. I think Miles will make an appearance, but Miles doesn't need to be here. And neither does Zadarius Smith, but he's there and he's working, and he got the dreads cut. He's bringing a little new energy to it.
So weird.
So I think it's just a good combination, and that's also very good for your rookies who are incoming to see. You know what I mean? To see a guy that doesn't need to be there, still there, giving us all, bringing the energy, and you need guys like that. Especially during these dog days. It's hard to get up. Football's so far away right now. So to be in training and see a guy who's that enthusiastic, never a bad.
Like 50, you're like in the 50s for training camp though. Like we're like, I think we're still in the hundreds though on regular season, I think.
Yeah, it is. The 100 doesn't count down until sometime in June.
Yeah, because you're under 4 months. Okay, yeah, we're getting there. Getting there. Guys, seriously, thank you all for joining us again. If you're joining us live, we see plenty of you guys checking to us live on Sunday morning. Sorry that these shows can be these second shows of the week can be a little erratic on when they happen. It's that time of year where you're just trying to fit everything in, and you're trying to not overdo football content, because it's the time of year to not overdo it, because we're going to overdo it in a couple of months, in like 50 some days when training camp starts up, and we'll get there. But seriously, if you're watching us on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, tell your friends about us. If you're on Twitch, or if you're anybody listening and you have an Amazon Prime, go to our Twitch account, twitch.tv/thebarkingbrowns. If you got Amazon Prime, link your Amazon Prime in your Twitch, sub to the channel. It's free to you, helps us. Josh checking in after what seems like a very productive Saturday for him. I see that in the comments. So we appreciate you guys and everything you do. But we will see you guys soon. Show on Tuesday. Not really sure what direction we're going on the show on Tuesday. But next week's film room, we'll get to the final 2 picks. We may even throw them together. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But definitely going to talk about Miles Harden here soon this upcoming week. Very excited about that conversation. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys again next time. As always, go Browns.